Trust to Disrupt, the podcast where visionary entrepreneurs, artists, creators, Web3 and crypto minds share visionary conversations and disruptive success stories. I have a passion for decentralized freedom. That's a statement from the visionary voice that is my incredible guest today. He's the creator and the architect of the private community-owned economy called the Atlantis Community, and that is in benefit of all members through fusing financial mastery with spiritual awakening. Atlantis is bridging the gap between spiritual expansion and financial prosperity. They achieve this through a focus on the crypto and forex markets and digital entrepreneurship overall, and by teaching personal evolution into embodied resilience and spiritual growth. The private community economy serves to cover living expenses and basic needs at a minimum, my guest states very humbly. The entrepreneur and speaker also co-creates events through the community like the Ancient Future Festival in Canada in September 24, where online and offline experiences are united to help build stronger connections. My guest has a history of 15 plus years in studying and exploring the power of deep consciousness, energetics, and quantum fieldwork to obtain personal growth, alongside expertise in marketing and coaching. Additionally, he has delved deep into the world of cryptocurrency, day trading, and the opportunities of blockchain technology for 8 years ongoing, creating his own financial freedom. He is from the US, currently living in Guatemala, and enjoys traveling the world whenever he likes, living out his own form of decentralized freedom. Please warmly welcome this visionary, Cody Faust, aka Zellar.
Hi, how's it going, everyone?
Hello, Cody. I'm just going to call you Cody.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's perfect.
So, everyone, welcome to this beautiful new podcast episode, Trust to Disrupt. So, I would love to introduce the question straight away. What does decentralized freedom mean to you, and why is that so important in today's world?
Yeah, it's funny when you said the quote. I have so many times where I feel like I'm just speaking and just channeling something, and people are like, "You said this. Like, what did you mean?" I'm like, I don't remember saying that." But freedom is the most important thing. I believe that every single person, every choice they make, is to get to a higher level of freedom in some aspect. Whether someone drinks alcohol, does drugs, or runs away to another country, whatever it might be, it's to experience some higher level of freedom, business, all of it. So the challenge with freedom is that the challenge with the systems that we live on are that they don't promote freedom very much. I am from the United States, and the capitalistic system, the way that it's set up, is very imbalanced to a few, and that's okay. That's the way they set it up. Anyone can play the game, but I just think it's a dumb game. So by creating systems that are decentralized, especially if it's assisting community, assisting many people to have more freedom, we decentralize the money, we decentralize the location, we decentralize the leadership of this system, we decentralize everything. So myself, what that means, to put it simply, is for me to experience what I choose to experience, I want to have access to everything with zero liability, right? A lot of friends, I have friends in every aspect of being, and my friends that don't have money, they don't have access to things, and that's what they complain about. And my friends that have a lot of money, they have so many things that they're constantly trying to protect themselves from lawsuits and this and that, and it's all the liability, and they don't feel free. So we can meet in the middle, is what I genuinely feel, and that's taken time to go within, to clear myself out spiritually, mentally, physically, to get to the clarity of how we can make this happen. But yeah, decentralized freedom, it's just like think of how blockchain works for those who know or who don't know. It just makes it to where there's no centralized authority. So by me using the United States dollar, for instance, there is a centralized authority on my money. The banks can choose to freeze my bank account at any time. If the government decides they want to come get me, they can freeze all my stuff. They have all the power to do that. That's not really freedom, is it? So yeah, we can go to details, but that would be a whole tangent. So we can leave it there for the moment.
Yeah, thank you for sharing all of that. what I'm hearing is a sort of a fake sensation of freedom that a lot of people might have followed some path of their life, or at least for a certain time until they realized differently, right? So there might be a concept of something like fake freedom, which in the end still gets you trapped. If we want to use money as an example, right? We tend to think, oh, when
Yeah.
I got six figures, when I got a million, when I got 10 million, when, then I'm free, then I can access everything. Well, but
Yeah, I was
reality
laughing
shows.
because it's really that way. It's like so many people worship money, and I even felt this way at one point. I was like, okay, once I get to a certain level of money, I'm good. I'm free, and I reached that goal, and then I realized like, oh crap, I'm not actually. And it's really funny that the people who live that lifestyle, promote that lifestyle, that the friends that I know and distant connections that I know that have 5, 10, 20, 50, 100 million, like most of them are way more trapped. Way more. They might have the money to be able to pay for their massages and stuff, but if they don't stop working, if they don't show up every day, if they stop their guard for 1 minute, they're gonna get a lawsuit or something, and it's all gonna be gone. So they are actually probably less free than the people who have no money. It's really funny how society is presenting that.
Totally. And then money obviously is something that is, where people have a lot of attachment around that, all directions. But even, you mentioned so many other things. You mentioned also the principle or the concept of power, right? And even if
Hmm.
you detach money from it for a little while, even though in reality it's not the case because it's very closely tied. But
Right.
just for a second, if we detach the idea, you still have power, right? Through systems, how societies are organized, how bigger organizations in our global economy are organized. Somehow there's always a level of dependency, right? And I
Yeah.
feel this brings it to the core of what you were saying, being at a point of having a different opportunity to create your life and be yourself in a way where you don't have these codependent attachments to something. Would that
Right.
sum up somehow?
Right. Yeah. And the biggest reflection I'm having that's coming up for that is that everyone's going for higher freedom, and I think it starts with spiritual freedom. And I firmly believe that codependency that has been created in our system, it comes from a codependency that was created spiritually, has been created spiritually. Especially all the religions of the world, they look at God, their idea of God or the universe, as like a mommy or daddy, like, and they only pray when they want to be saved from some difficult issue. And then that, like, spirituality to me is the highest way that we can expand, within this human experience. Whatever spirituality means to you is different for everyone, but energetically is the highest way we can expand. And so if the highest way that we can expand as a being is experiencing codependency, well, then all the other aspects of our being are also going to be experiencing it. So this goes back to also the first question you asked about decentralizing freedom. To make systems that are not codependent, the individual must be spiritually, mentally, and financially or physically free. And it starts spiritually. So I've practiced many religions in my life. I've read most religious texts. Like most of the people that practice religion, organized religion, I've probably read their religious book more than they have. And what I've found is that most religions and most people that follow religions, it's genuinely there's like child of God energy, and it's like, okay, yeah, we're all child of God, but no one wants to grow up. They just want to be a little child. That's fine, but that's if that's your choice. But to me, that's why we're experiencing the lack of freedom in some aspects that some experience in the system. It's really prevalent in the whole world. There's so many people that don't feel like they have freedom in one aspect or another, and this is really why I think.
It is. And what I'm also hearing in, the package of freedom, either way you're coming from the religious side, which makes total sense. Then if we, look at the same way how a society is built, the organizational structure behind that, the political systems, but you could also take it to like the economic part, right? If you look at how these things are all built, what pops in for me is the word hierarchy, which then if we look at at the single individual being in power or not being in power, or at least perceiving themselves as
Mm.
in power or not in power, or disempowered or empowered. So how would you say, when we, with that idea, zoom a little bit out, look at the world at a meta level, when you look at the world with your visionary view on that, what kind of certain narratives is that you see at the moment? When I ask you, like, Cody, what the fuck is going on in the world? Like, where's everyone? And why are things why they are? Why is
Yeah.
it that we need these new things that you are building, for example, with that Atlantis community? So can you elaborate a little bit on your perspective on that?
Yeah. Here's my perspective about the way the world's happening. There are people in the world that have a lot of power in this world who benefit individually off of separation. And so that separation is promoted in so many different ways. It can be politically, right? Red versus blue. It could be gangs, red versus blue. It could be skin color. It could be money. It could be language, whatever. War, right? These people benefit individually, maybe for a short time, but karmically, I don't know how that works. I have an idea, but anyways, when they have the things that they want, the separation in the world, they're able to achieve whatever their goals are. And to me, I personally just like a lot of people want to go in and change the system and make it better. Oh, we'll become a politician, become this, become that. I literally don't care. I want to completely unsubscribe. I think the system was built this way. I think it was built to promote separation. It was built to take power away from others to give to others. And maybe it's available for everyone in the world to play the game, in this system and to reach whatever level they want to reach. But the rules are not clear and it's really not fair and it's really not like a fun game for most. So to me, I just completely unsubscribe. I'm a U.S. citizen, but I've never voted in a U.S. election because I simply don't care. And the reason I don't care is because the tax money that I pay, I see that I'd send this tax money, and then a month later, children in Syria are being bombed, or whatever. Like, and I'm just like, I just don't want to be a part of that. Like, unsubscribe, like on a YouTube channel, and I find so being in that, choosing to unsubscribe, choosing to move outside of the US to really be outside of it, go more in nature, go into a different system, go to where there's a different language so I can really just like process, be in a completely new space and just kind of process my whole world that I thought, or process the way that I thought the world worked. And what to repeat, unsubscribing to me is the best possible way to experience something better. And now, because I want access, like I said, to everything with zero liability. And I personally, I'm really capable, like with trading and crypto and the things I know how to do with sales. Like I know financially, if I wanted to just be good, like I'm good, I'm fine. But it's not inspiring, really. And so I also, I maybe like growing up, I wasn't super close to my blood family, but I found friends and things and around the world that like I was way closer with than my actual family. And they like creating a system that allows everyone to feel like they can trust people like family as well was kind of what came out of all this jumble of experience. Like, all right, this system doesn't work, and my family, it's not just blood that can treat me like a family. It can be anyone. And so then, what is the blockage from all of us coming together, realizing this? And in reality, it's media, but it's also really it's the system, it's the financial system. The reason that the system still exists or why the separation still exists is because the money that everyone's using for their livelihood, to pay their bills, to pay their rent, is controlled by those creating the separation. So the easiest way for us is to simply create something outside of it. Now, blockchain is great. It's powerful. This is what we'll be building our system on to be able to decentralize the voting. We already have a couple DAO accounts with some funds. But not everyone is ready for blockchain yet. So we also are working in on some things. I can't go too in depth with this, but we're working on some things in banking and other things with the actual legal system. And we have a someone on the team who has already legally created a country, and we're setting up banking through that aspect. So the idea is to I'll build a bridge for people on this old system in this old world to make it easy for them to come to the actual natural way of being. 9 to 5 and slaving over your rent is not actually natural. And even those who do really well financially but are still, working some salary job, like it's not natural to work in that way. Nature doesn't work that way. Plant an avocado seed and yell at it and try to get it an avocado tomorrow. Like it's not going to work. Avocado trees can take 5 years to actually, to fruit. And usually it's in seasons that things fruit. So that's the natural way of being. So by building a bridge or a system that takes care of the needs, right? The reason why people are addicted to the old system, their needs, their food, their rent, just their shelter, when we can take care of those needs, then they can stop thinking about that, detox from the addiction to that system, and then we can show them, hey, actually, there's a better way to interact energetically, instead of using these dollars that are based off of debt. Like Bitcoin's great, but there's even better things out there than that. So,
Thank you for that amazing answer. So let me break it down into a little bit of chunks. And then I really want to dive into the community that you're building a bit more and deeper into this idea, because that I feel is truly innovative, visionary, and new of building a community-owned economy, right? And I would love to, in a few minutes, to elaborate a little bit what that actually means, because I feel a lot of people will hear the words, and obviously each word separately will be known to everyone, but to really conceptualize what that means, right? Really
yeah,
in reality, it's going to be a different story. So from all the things that you've just shared, right, if we touch upon the decentralization part connected to what is most present in our reality right now, which is blockchain technology, right? This
yeah,
is also to me that element which is most widely spread so far, with accessibility, functionality, and where there's already an ecosystem on it. So there's already a lot of things happening, and it already at the stage where it is allows a lot of creation, right? You don't have
right,
to be a specialist in coding and stuff any longer, but there's opportunities to use this in different ways. While
yeah,
at the same time, and this is where I feel there's really a spread if we look at population in the world, of a share of people who are really excited about that, who are already diving into that, who are already creating, and there is still a huge share of people in the world who are still very suspicious, even against a currency like Bitcoin. You still think like, oh my goodness, this is a scam. This is just not going to sustain anyways. And sometimes it feels to me like, back in those days when people were like, ah, nah, this internet kind of a thing, it's just never going to be there. It's going to be off in a year, well, probably it won't,
yeah,
right? So
uh,
this is an interesting concept that you're bringing in as well. And then we also had this, you brought in trust and belonging, right? When we think about this hierarchical structures that have been built in all of the systems that we know, and I would agree to what you said, just my personal opinion, that there has been some sort of an intention and a purpose behind the way that all of these systems have been created. I would
yeah,
go as far as to say that to a very small proportion, they served their purpose in the times when they were built, for example, after the World War times, when the whole population of the planet, or like a huge share of it at least, was in a situation where a lot of insecurity was there were no structures. And in order to just build something, I always feel like it served for a certain purpose, but then it sort of turned over and became unserving because it was dominated by too much power, money, and people who did not have the best intention for
yeah,
everyone. But then the twisted side of the capitalism rose, and the system needed to be fed, right, in order to keep running. And so all of the other things created. And this is how we get to today's lifestyle systems, where even when you work a 9 to 5 and you have like a good six-figure salary, right? Like, which is absolutely possible, still you can break it down into, there's like at least, even if you deduct tax, but then still the rest that you've left every month, there's at least 60 to 70% that needs to go into paying mortgage or rent or food or insurances, or, there's the buckets are already
Yeah,
defined for which you need to allocate, because otherwise the whole system will die if you don't feed the boxes, right?
it's
So
crazy. Yeah, I read like yeah, I think yesterday, the day before, it would take 180,000 US dollars for one person to live comfortably in the United
oh my,
States.
yeah, that's
Stupid.
crazy.
And the income is like what average income is like 50,000 maybe 60. I don't know.
Yeah,
Stupid.
it is here. I read the latest data for Germany that was broken down into monthly net income, and that is, it's ridiculous. The average monthly net income here in this country, I think it was last year or 22, the data was around 1,500 to 1,600 euro.
How do people eat? Like okay, I'm single. I have no children. Like and I live in Latin America, and I don't know how I can live off 1,500, like a month. That's crazy.
It
Like,
is totally right. But we have this, when you say trust and belonging, this is exactly what these systems create. They create fear. And then this fake belonging, which caters back to where we started, to fake freedom, if you want, right? It is a pretend freedom because, oh, you have the choice to spend the X weeks of vacation you get every year. You have a great choice to spend it either in Spain or in Mexico or
right?
in, wherever you want to go. And then this is the things, and you can break that down to every other area. It feels like a pretend choice because it's pre-selected and it's given to you, and because the overall complexity of all information and things in the world has reached a point that is overwhelming to most people. People are
Yeah,
just like, okay, I'm out, I'm just going to follow
yeah,
that thing,
yeah,
right? and
yeah,
and they don't trust themselves anymore. That connection, when you talked about spirituality, right, when you say it starts at spiritual codependency, if you want, right?
right.
Take me with that.
Yeah, sorry, I just got a call.
Oh, that's all
God
right.
bless.
Right. So we got all of these things together, and everything that you just elaborated on beautifully brings together, connects all of the dots for why the world is where it is today. And so tell me then now, what is the community that you're building and how is that different, right? We've now identified, okay, this is what it is like, and we can't keep going like that. So
Yeah,
what is the community owned economy? What does that mean?
yeah, good question. Not to be confused with communism. But I mean, communism, I guess the word comes from community, but communism, it's the same thing. It's like same thing as democracy and capitalism. It's a label that it's meant for one definition, but then it gets taken and changed it by actions, right? Even it's crazy how often in history that's able to happen. Like the symbol for the Nazi symbol, for instance, actually used to be it is a Hindu symbol, a super sacred symbol that means peace and unity and a few other things. And yeah, so to bring it back, I directly am not for centralized authority. So even as someone who is an entrepreneur, and I've had a lot of employees in the past, and I've been and when I did door to door sales, I was a manager of people and all that. I've never felt good about being like telling someone what to do because I don't like being told what to do, and I find that it's well, I'll come back to that. Let's start here. So the community economy, the idea is that it's all based on freedom and decentralizing power. So it's important to know here in this date and time, we are building it. Okay, it's not in full existence. We are building it daily. I'll put in, if I have the energy, I'll put in 15, 18-hour days. I'm very passionate about this, which is great. And a lot of the people on our team are as well. So the idea is to, for the members, take care of all basic living expenses, to pay for their housing, their food, right? To pay for all that. Some people are like, how are you going to do that? How, that's so much money. Well, listen, the the governments, I kind of watch what I can on the outside. Because of AI, it's literally going to take all jobs. I mean, probably within 5 years, it will be able to take all jobs. And whether it will or not, we'll see. There's going to be some like political stuff, I'm sure, of like, you can't let the AI take this job, that's not. But eventually, it will take all jobs. It can do it better, faster, more efficiently, cost less money. So all the governments realize this. They've been planning this for a while. The way to take care of this is to create a universal basic income. This has been talked about for years, and so they're going to do that. They're going to have to. There's no other way around it. Um, and when they do that by us subscribing to government assistance, I had government assistance in my history, and when I had that, I gave up my freedoms. I couldn't travel. I couldn't do all these things, or else they would legally prosecute me. They'd say. And so if your whole living is off of that for your whole life, your housing is owned by the government or by a company, it's partnered with the government and all that. You have no choice. You have no. It's kind of like it's a prison, really, because they're going to tell you what to do because it's their stuff, and they can threaten you by saying, "Oh well." And I'm not saying they will, but it's the fact that they can. That isn't okay with me. You know, I'm a very much so an optimist, and there's a lot of people who get into the what they call conspiracy theory stuff. But the fact of the matter is, there's a lot. It's just thinking logically about where things are going, and recognizing where they're going. Does that work for me, or does that not work for me? And to me, most people, it will be really easy for them to just, oh yeah, government's just going to give me $2,000 a month. Oh great, yeah, I'll just take it. Why not? And that's going to promote people being a bit more lazy, not valuing, in my opinion, not valuing the things that they have, and not wanting to create more of it. If you look at anyone on government assistance, if you look at in the U.S., they call it Section 8 housing. That's like the government housing that they subsidize, they pay for. And it's always the most, even though they're really nice buildings, they put a lot of money into building them, they're the most ghetto, trashy for the most part. And it's because people don't value things they get for free. So when we create that system, when we realize we just want to do that, just take care of people's living spaces, but actually every person has direct ownership of that system. This is to me how governments should be set up. And I think initially the United States, how the Declaration of Independence and how the Constitution implied for things to be set up, but it didn't happen that way. So how we're going to do it, so we're to be able to pay for people's expenses, to pay for the living expenses, all that. We're just simply creating businesses, creating incomes that are consistent and sustainable. And instead of being greedy and saying, "Oh, I myself, I could live off of $30,000 to $40,000 US comfortably. That's cleaner coming to my house twice a week. I can live comfortably off 30, 40 grand a year. All right, I can create way more than that just from my own efforts. So why would I just sit there and just hoard it? Like that is an addiction. That is a disease in my eyes, in my opinion. Money is not, most people in this world, they worship it. They base their whole life around that. And that's because the system was built that way. Because really what people want is freedom, but people attach money to freedom. They say, "Oh, if I have money, that means I have freedom." But when we realize that that's just a construct that we've been taught that is not actually true, we can step away and create something better. So, okay, I'm going to go into how we actually do it. So, by creating incomes for this
And that's sorry
economy,
to
and
interrupt. Can you also like I'll keep going with that.
yeah,
And
yeah,
can you also share with people, obviously as you're building, but what is the stage where you are at the moment with whatever you can and want to share?
totally, totally, yeah. So, the DAO exists. So we do have a DAO, and we right now are mostly focusing on the legal structure. This is to play their game. And the reason is because so many people are they feel trapped in that system. So we have people who have gotten the full sovereignty. So legally you can claim your own body as the land of your own country. People aren't going to
Oh,
want that to be heard. Some people, but you can do that, and you can claim legal sovereignty. So when we follow the laws, or we're just in a society and we just blindly follow the laws, we give our power to everything that created the law. Not saying the laws are bad, but I'm just saying we should look at who created this law. Why is it created? Is this something that is actually aligned with truth? Because it's just humans commit fraud. So anyways, we're creating a legal structure that empowers sovereignty and teaches people sovereignty. So the legal structure, we do have public facing businesses, and we're building them, and they are profitable businesses, but the all the equity goes back to the community. So right now we're setting up the legal structure for that to happen consistently, and the banking structure to be able to move that money into the DAO, into the blockchain, much easier. So that's where we're at right now. As for the structure of how we're going to pay for it, how are things set up, how is the governance of the system, most of that has already been thought through and pretty well planned. But now it's just the steps of the structures. So
so
um, we will. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
just a question, because I
Yeah.
feel a lot of people that may listen to this may not be 100% familiar with exactly what a DAO is and all of these things. So
Yeah.
if I wanted to break this down into like super, super, super simple words, would it be correct to say what you're building? If I'm like, oh, that sounds super interesting and I want to join, would that mean either I'd be paying an amount X to participate, and then there's business models set up that generate cash, and from that I get redistributed something? Or would it
Yeah.
rather mean I'm joining it and I'm picking one of the business activities where I'm actively contributing to the result that the businesses create, and then this gets redistributed to the community and to all of the things that desire or need some sort of
Right.
funding in whichever way?
Yeah. So I would say if the only thing that you have to contribute is money, we probably shouldn't work together. So I don't care how much it is. But the thing is it really about being of service to all of us, seeing everyone as a family. And right now it's of course could the system utilize funding for real estate and things like that, for sure, but we already got that well underway, and we're very confident with how that's flowing. So at this point we're being more selective with where is the person at that is curious with working with us. What are their intentions? Where do they see themselves in 5 years, 10 years, 100 years? Where do they see their grandchildren? Where do they see the world going? So on a to get started, the best thing I could say is you could follow me on Instagram, and I'm always sharing the things that we have going on. The soonest thing is the event in Canada on September 20th, and we're sharing all powerful things on how to make money online, digital entrepreneurship, how to experience more freedom legally, and the process to do so, and then also energetically and spiritually. And then there's going to be some cool hippie stuff like the dancing and the sound healing. But it's more, since I'm involved, I'm not really as much into. I don't go to ecstatic dances or things. I'm very right now in my masculine and like build mode and focus. So since I am co-hosting this event, there's going to be a lot of powerful teachings on getting to higher levels of freedom. This event and the events that we have, this is how we meet those who are on the team or will be on the team, because that's the main thing. If you want to be part of this, we are not here to save everyone. We don't need you, and you don't need us. But this is the highest level of freedom. Is at least this is our version of that, and we're looking to expand on that every day. But the best thing that you could do if you're passionate about freedom and you're interested in what we're doing is to show up to these events, reach out, make yourself aware. It's not too difficult to get a hold of me right now to schedule a call with me. If you say the right things to my Instagram, then it will get to me. So,
So
um,
while you're at that, tell people where exactly they need to go. What's the website? What's the IG? Where do they find all the good things?
Yeah, so my Instagram is the Ascended Trader, TheAscendedTrader, like day trading. And we are rebranding. So the atlantiscommunity.com is the current website. The new domain is freedomcollective.io. So either one, right now the freedomcollective.io isn't functioning yet, but we have the domain. That's a long story, but Atlantis was a failed society. We're not going to build on a failed society. So that's why the rebrand is happening. But you can find in the atlantiscommunity.com or freedomcollective.io when it's active. You can reach out to us as well there. That community is a subscription educational community. I was able to coach. I've coached over 200 people in the last 5 years on day trading, subconscious programming, and just ultimately like living a free life. And I've had over 50 people that have made over six figures just from what I've taught. Many, many millions of dollars have been created from what I've taught. And instead of charging 10, 50, 100 grand for coaching, we created a subscription community, put all the courses in there. Right now it's $100 a month. It might go up to 200. And the whole point is to lead you to higher levels of freedom financially, mentally, and spiritually. That community is such a small income for us. The income to actually fund all the software we need is there's a lot of other sources it's having to come from. This is mainly between the events and this online community. This is how we're looking to find those people who are team members, to cultivate them, to show them what we're about and what true freedom really means.
Amazing. Thank you. So let me break that down because that was a lot. I
Yeah,
love it.
sorry, go off.
No, don't apologize. Please don't, because it's beautiful. I can see you have the capacity to hold that space for the complexity and jump in between these things. And that is what we exactly need if we want to build all of the new things outside the existing structures. We need people who have come to this level of awareness and self-reflection and self-leadership. To me, that is always the core, right? The self-leadership, because
Amen.
that then enables and empowers you to hold this space to be conceptualizing in these things, and then also bring it into, if you want to call that manifestation or just into execution, right? And what
Right.
you've just opened up this space is beautiful. So what I'm understanding is the bigger vision is really what you're creating is not only an online place platform version, but it's supposed to be, you talked about real estate, right? So there's going to be probably some sort of villages, communities, cities, whatever, right? Also connected to that. And I feel it is like a very upgraded version of where we as humanity came from, like hundreds and thousands of years ago, living in, I wouldn't say completely closed communities, but very connected communities, right?
Yeah,
Where everyone is contributing something, you have a certain role in that, but everyone is also participating from everything, right? Just that,
totally.
what I'm hearing is a very upgraded version, obviously using the technology that we have and integrating what we know. That is what I feel you're teaching in this part that is already available in the membership, right? There's not only financial intelligence, but it is a lot around your sovereign intelligence, I want to call that, right?
Right.
How you go back into this free version of you that is empowered or sovereign, however you want to call that, right? That is detached from all of these concepts of the structures that are existing, the hierarchy, the separation when we want to get to the core of it, right?
Right. Exactly.
So you're building this huge economy actually that is going to generate, once it's set up in a further way, it's going to generate different sorts of income through different business models, right?
Yeah, we already have
Based on
multiple
what
businesses that
online.
exist, that are profitable, and we'll be creating more, of course. We have some in progress. But the reason why we're going to be able to fund all this is because instead of me just taking all the like equity and just adding to my bank account, it's just give it to the community. Why not? It's all ours anyway. Like it's if I can contribute this and we're all and other people are contributing their end and we're all pooling it together to buy the property we need or to buy the plane that we need or whatever that we decide as a community to remain free, sovereign and feel empowered. Yeah. Yeah. Put it all there.
Yeah, I really love that. And I mean, that's just like summarizing it, because for people who have never heard about these things, right, it is the legal part that you just mentioned. I mean, all the things that you have to consider, because when you want to create a society, if you want, that is completely different than what we have today, then you have to also start at these things, right? What does it mean legally?
Mm-hmm.
And that was new information for me as well. I love that, learning that actually in my own body I can become a sovereign country if we want. This is a cool idea, right? Understanding what that really means and what it implies with regards to how you can create and how you can pull together that community structure is great. So then you are actually really creating a full house solution, if you want, online plus offline, life, all areas that we need.
Yep.
Income, obviously, we always need to solve first, as long as we have currency, money in one way or the other for exchange for things. I feel there will be a point we might not even need that anymore, because there'll be other things, other ways how we can
That's the fun part. That's the fun
apply.
part. I've got some powerful things that I'm in the know of, co-founder of, and yeah, we're a little ways out, but the way that we interact with money is going to change very powerfully. And it might just be a small group of us that are able to experience what is next in the evolution. Like, it's not even Bitcoin is a stepping stone. Bitcoin just allows us to get our freedom back financially because no government owns it. And that's why all the media has, said, oh, it's a scam and it's used by thugs and all this stuff. But it's like, who controls the media? Who funds them? And the same people that fund the media telling you that Bitcoin is a scam are the same investment companies loading up on Bitcoin in the background. So it's funny to see. But Bitcoin is powerful, and I really believe in it because it exists separate from the internet. But yeah, it's not the highest frequency of interacting energetically. Yeah,
That's a beautiful pathway over to something that I would love to bring in here as well, because when I listened to a live on Instagram of you, like just a day or 2 days ago, you guys were tapping into superhuman powers and becoming. Hello, and let's take a little break here. There's been so many gems in here, so much amazing insights coming from Cody. We broke this into 2 episodes to give you guys a break and a chance to digest. So if you love this, hop on to the next episode and hear the second half of the interview, where we tap into the supernatural abilities of humans and many other very, very deep and interesting things for the future. Thanks for listening. I hope you really feel inspired and you gain new perspectives for your own ventures to take action. Remember to subscribe to the podcast, download the episode, and share it with one visionary person who needs to also hear this. Also, please leave a 5-star review if that feels aligned on iTunes or on Spotify. That helps to distribute the podcast to more people and to have high caliber guests on for you to enjoy.